Breaking news from Washington, D.C. Shots were fired inside the Hilton Hotel, the venue for the White House Correspondents Dinner. Donald Trump, Melania Trump, the entire Trump cabinet and high-level officials were evacuated. This is not a drill. This is not speculation. This happened tonight in one of the most heavily secured locations in the world. We are reporting this from an unusual location. I will explain why in a moment. But first, what we know right now is that shots were fired within that building. Donald Trump was evacuated, and we are going to get into all of the reporting coming out of Washington, D.C. right now, as well as what this moment says about the state of our country and how we arrived here. Fair warning, this is a disturbing scene. Let's start with what witnesses on the ground are saying.
People were jumping under tables, and people were very upset and worried. And I have some videos, so somebody needs to. We have no signal. There's never any signal here at the Washington Hilton, so I apologize for that. But I have some video to send. But in any case, I have no idea what happened. Somebody with a Secret Service pin said that there was a shooter made his way into the building, but not into the room. And that shooter was stopped. So that's all I know, is that shooter was stopped.
A shooter made his way into the building, not into the room, but into the building, in a venue where the President of the United States and his entire cabinet were seated, where hundreds of journalists, the very people Donald Trump has spent years calling scum, enemies of the state, animals, had gathered for the one night of the year where the press and power are supposed to sit in the same room together. Think about what that means for a moment, not politically, humanly. There were people in that room tonight who dove under tables, who did not know if they were going to walk out, who were close enough to hear the shots and not know yet whether those shots were coming closer. That is terror. And it happened in Washington, D.C. in 2025 at an event that was supposed to be a celebration of journalism. We are going to hear more details now from someone who was just feet away from what happened.
Can you hear me? I can hear. Wolf, can you estimate the number of shots you heard fired or the number of people that you saw with a gun that you believe were the gunman? Is it one person? Are there multiple people?
I was a few feet away from this one gunman who was shooting just randomly. And I'm guessing I heard at least a half a dozen, maybe 6 gunshots. I mean, they were booms. They were so loud. And I haven't heard gunshots like that in a long time. And it was very close to me. But the next thing I knew, I couldn't see anything else because a couple of police officers were jumping on me and trying to protect me. So I was down on the ground with police officers on top of me.
Could you hear the officers talking to the gunman, and what were they saying?
I think by then the gunman was shot. I could be wrong, but the gunman had stopped firing, and he was on the ground. And I'm standing outside, and there's a lot of FBI, a lot of Metropolitan Police, a lot of military personnel who are all here. It looks like it's beefing up big time. There's a lot of DEA. There's a lot of law enforcement here dealing with this.
At least 6 shots, maybe more. A gunman firing randomly. Police officers throwing themselves on top of Wolf Blitzer to protect him. That is what happened tonight at the White House Correspondents Dinner. And here is the thing that I need to say, and I know some people are going to be upset about the timing of it, but it has to be said. Normal people do not have Secret Service. Normal people do not get evacuated into armored vehicles and driven to secure facilities when there is a shooting. Gun violence is an epidemic in this country. It claims the lives of more young people than almost anything else. It happens every single day in schools, in grocery stores, in parking lots, in neighborhoods where nobody with a television camera shows up the next morning. A mass shooting happened just days ago, and the President of the United States said nothing, not a word. And now there is a shooting at an event where he was present, and it will become the biggest story in the world. And he will make it about himself. And the press that was in that room tonight, the same press he called enemies of the state, the same press he has spent years demeaning and threatening and banning from his briefing rooms, will have a choice tomorrow morning about how they cover what just happened. They can cover the security failure. They can cover what this moment reveals about the culture of violence that has been deliberately cultivated in our politics. They can ask the hard questions about how a gunman entered one of the most secured buildings in Washington, D.C. on the one night when the president and his entire cabinet were inside. Or they can let it become another story about dear leader and how he survived and how we must protect him and how his enemies are responsible. The journalists in that room tonight had guns fired near them. They were afraid. Some of them dove under tables. And tomorrow, the question is whether that fear clarifies something for them or whether they go back to the same dynamic that has existed for years. A dynamic where the most powerful person in the country calls them animals and they show up to his events and applaud anyway. Violence is not something that arrived in our politics from nowhere. It was built, statement by statement, label by label, enemy by enemy. And the question that this moment demands is not just who pulled the trigger tonight. It is how we arrived at a place where none of this feels surprising anymore. That is what we have to reckon with. Not tomorrow, now. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is developing and we will bring you every update as it.
Stay back, stay back, stay back. Wait for this side. Wait for this side. Wait for this side. All right. Oh my God. Stay back, stay back, stay back.